record on this computer. And we are now recording. Okay, we're in the third shiur of our 5 on the Alshich on Megillas Rus. I have to tell you something really very exciting. Somebody who was watching this on Torah Anytime got in touch with me and he said he wants to sponsor the shiur, which I was very, very pleased about indeed. And so he wants it to be in the schus of Reb Aaron Malkin, of course, the Rosh Yeshiva in Queens, who passed away recently. And my new sponsor says I must also invite anybody else who's watching this in Torah Anytime, if you want, in the weeks to come, because my new sponsor says we should continue this. It should be a new Alshich shiur every week, the Alshich on the Parsha. And so after we finish Megillas Rus, after Shavuos, then I'm going to start a brand new shiur every week. I'll let you know exactly what day it's going to go out, so you can either see it live or see the recording on TorahAnytime.com. So if you would like to sponsor any of those shiurim through the next year of the great Sephardi Makubal, or the Alshich HaKodesh or Moshe Alshich, then please get in touch with me. And that's my email address. It's yy@rabbiyyy.com, yy@rabbiyyy.com. And if you'd like to sponsor an Alshich shiur on the Parsha for somebody, a father, a mother, a grandfather, or grandmother, then please do get in touch with me and we'll be able to dedicate the shiur in the name of the person you would like it to be sponsored for. All right, getting the advertisement out of the way. Let's move to the Alshich. So last week we came to the death of the two sons of Naomi. I have to tell you, it's very. I've struggled I've said this shiur, or learned this, I should say, many, many years, and I've always struggled with the translation of V'tisho'er. So maybe if you've got, I hope you've got Megillas Rus with you, and you can just remind yourself what happens there when it says in Pasuk Daled that they marry two Moabite women, and we talked about that. And then in Pasuk Hey it says that they both died. But Yamusu Gam Shnehem Machlon B'chilion, V'tisho'er Ha'isha, and then V'tisho'er Ha'isha. So we've had the word Tisho'er before, and this is what I was struggling with. After in Pasuk Gimel, Vayomas Elimelech Ish Naomi, and Elimelech dies, and remember it says that he's Elimelech, now the wife of Naomi. His greatness is seen as being connected to her, not the other way about, her having stayed out the land of Israel. V'tisho'er he. And now, we explained what it means, but I was looking for a translation, and strangely, I dreamt about it last night, so I must have been thinking about this shiur, or preparing the shiur. A good translation came into my mind in my sleep, and I was thrilled, and I woke up this morning, and I remembered that, and I forgot what the translation was. So I struggled again. I think probably the best translation of Tisho'er is survived. If somebody's in a car crash, or if there are a few people in a car crash, God forbid, and most of the people die, and somebody survives, the suggestion is that they should have died or could have died too, but survived. It's not the literal translation, of course, of V'tisho'er, which really would, I suppose, would be remained over or left over. But sometimes, as I've told you in my other shiurim, when you translate literally, the more faithful you want to be, or you try to be when you translate, often the more you adulterate the original text. You've got to say to yourself as a translator, or when you're translating, what does the author mean? And how do I say that in another language? And of course, it might be that you can't say it in another language. So I don't know of a proper English translation of V'tisho'er, which actually takes the root of the word and means the same in English, but it really means survived. That means to say she should have died, but she survived, and we're going to see exactly why. Because it says again in Pasuk Hey, V'yimusu Gam Shneim. Now when her sons die, then it says Machal B'chilion, V'tisho'er Ha'isha. And again it says to her, she survived. And we talked about that last week. She should have died too, because she should have said to the two sons that you've done something wrong and you mustn't marry these girls. And if you remember last week, we explained that what they did wrong, bearing in mind they were tzaddikim, not that they didn't convert them, they did convert them. It's just they converted them according to their understanding of what Jewish law allowed them to do. I.e., it was either the fact that, of course, it can be the case that they can marry these two girls, but why? Because the rule is that a Moabite man is banned from conversion. Well, not from conversion, it can convert, but banned from converting and marrying into the Jewish people, but not a Moabite woman. That was something which is only going to be cleared up halakhically with Boaz marrying Rus. He's so convinced that that is the halakhic position. A Moabi can't come into the Jewish people, but a Moabitess can. Then he marries Rus, and that's a demonstration. But still, of course, that carried on for another 2 generations, and it was the accusation against King David that he wasn't really fit to be a part of the Jewish people because he's descended from a Moabitess. So this kind of Moabite man or a Moabite woman joined the Jewish people still rumbled on as a debate later on. But the 2 sons, Machlon and Chilion, they were convinced that it was no problem, and therefore, as they could marry them, why shouldn't they marry them? No, only because Klal Yisrael, we said, had not, as a whole, accepted that that was the halachic position. And until, even though you're right, even though the halacha is good to say like you, until Klal Yisrael endorsed that with a general consensus that we accept that as being the halacha, you're going against Klal Yisrael. And that was mistake number 1. Naomi knows that, and that's why she rejects the conversion. That would be answer number 1, we said last week. Answer number 2 was, and this is already in the Shulchan Aruch, if you remember from last week's share, that because 2, according to the Rambam and the Rif, 2 men cannot constitute a Beis Din to create a conversion. And that is what happened. So therefore, they think, and that is the halacha, that 2 men can constitute a Beis Din, but the Rambam and the Rif, other halachic views, say no. Simply Naomi Paskin like the other views. But again, it says, V'tisho'er he ha'isha, and again the same word. So in Pasuk Hey, if you look at there, by Yemuzakam Shneim, Machlon Bechilion, and incidentally, I did say that, of course, they weren't their real names. The Gemara in Bava Basra and Sadik Aleph, if I remember right, Sadik Aleph on the base, says indeed it wasn't their real names. One opinion says yes, one opinion says no. What was the opinion that says that the different names were called Yoash and Seraph? But even then, there's a big debate there. But leaving that aside, Machlon, we said, is forgiven. Chilion, we said, is finished. He's, to use the American phrase, toast. Chilion, meaning to be wiped out. And she survives. And again, the implication was she deserved to die. She should have stopped them doing what they did, even though it's nuanced now. It's not they marry out. It's just that for the 2 reasons we've explained. Good. So she's left over bereft, if I can use that old-fashioned word, of her husband and of her 2 sons. Okay. Now, let's go a little bit forward on this, but I do, before I leave and we move on to Pasuk Zayin to see what comes next, because I'm now moving on to the if you saw the title for tonight's share, a very, very intriguing and Kabbalistic aspect of this. And that is to say, Naomi is now looking for her dead son. We'll see what that means in a second. But I do want to read you something that Alshich says here, because he wants to focus a little bit more on this. She survived, V'tisho'er. And it's a very interesting idea. So again, why does she survive? She deserves to die, but she survives. Well, I'll let the Alshich say it too. He says, "V'nosim if we consider, I'll tell you that Shtefam, it says twice that she survived. So it seems to be that it's irrelevant. I mean, unless it tells you she's dead, then she's obviously there. So why does it say that she survived and say it twice? You talk and he says, I think this possible key. But Omar V'tisho'er, the first time it says that she survived, Nirma's Hasharusa, her survival is hinting at the fact, Lahebi es Nikros Ima Shal Malchus Hebrews. It's to tell you the fact that her survival was based on the fact, and I'll read this to you again, Lahevi es Hanikros Ima Shal Malchus Hebrews. The fact that she would be instrumental in bringing the mother of Malchus, of royalty, which of course is Rus, into the Jewish people. That's why she survives. If there was no Rus in the story, then she wouldn't survive. She's got a job to do and a mission to do. And it says the Gemara in Bava Basra, indeed, Tzadik Aleph that we quoted before, Ava Yosam Kisa La'em HaMelech, it's the Pasuk of Malachim Aleph Beis and Pasuk Yutes. I incidentally think this is one of the most moving things in the whole of Tanakh, that Rus, who gave up everything to become the mother, to become a Jewish woman, so, the riches of being a princess, when you get servants, doing dancing to your attention and whatever you want, as she ends up being so poor that she has to go out into the fields to gather the corn or the wheat. The kernels of corn and wheat have been dropped by the harvesters to be left for the poor people. That's how poor and how much she's willing to embrace Klal Yisrael, although we'll talk about that in a little second as well. Her reward is she gets all that back again. So there's a beautiful posuk, and I always find this very, very moving, and you probably know this. When Shlomo HaMelech, at the height of his powers, and he had this incredible throne, which was the most famous throne in the whole of history. And the structure of the throne and the construction of the throne was all in mystical Kabbalistic forces, and it did things. It was not just a stationary object, it was mystically alive, if you like. But there was another little chair beside it. The Pasuk says, Avayosam Kisa La'em HaMelech. There was a chair for the mother of the king, and of course that was Rus. There was a little throne, if you like, thronette, right beside Shlomo HaMelech's incredible throne. She lived to see her grandson, Shlomo HaMelech, in the height of his splendor. Quite a recognition of what she did by Hashem Yisborach to give her all of that. But anyway, the reason that Naomi gets to live and survives is in order to bring her that soul to Klal Yisrael. And that means Emes Shamalchus Hirus, Ima Shamalchus, sorry, the mother of the king, that's Rus. Became Oila Mispar Isis. I love this bit. Here's an Alshich with some gematria. I don't know if you're a fan of gematria, but it's very sweet. When he says Became Oila Mispar Isis, if you count up the letters of Betishar, he, right, she survived. It comes to, he says, the exact same gematria of Lehevi Ima Shamalchus. She survived. Lehevi Ima Shamalchus, to bring the mother of the king, to bring Rus, who's going to be the mother of not just King David, but King Shlomo HaMelech as well, to sit at that throne. It's a beautiful idea. So she's got a role to play. She's got to do that. She's got to bring that woman who is going to be the mother of Shlomo HaMelech. We'll see more on that in a second. But of course, if she's got to bring that woman, she's got to find that woman who's not just going to be, as we'll see in a second, a convert to Judaism, or not even a great convert to Judaism, but somebody who's going to be on such a spiritual level after her embracing of Torah and mitzvahs that she's actually going to bring the greatest king, David HaMelech, or Shlomo HaMelech, whichever, how you would assess this, to Klal Yisrael, and we'll see in a second, not only that, but the Mashiach. That's her role. That's why she survives. And it gives us a bit of an insight into Rus as well. And hopefully we'll get onto tonight, but if not next week, to the classic confrontation between daughter-in-law and mother-in-law when Naomi tries to get her to give up her plan. But we'll get quite a taste of that tonight as well. Okay, if you've got your Megillas Rus in front of you, then let's just read a few psukim to get a feel of what's going on. So after the death of her two sons, then she and her two daughters-in-law get up, and they leave Moab. So Moab, of course, is the south eastern part of Jordan, and that's where they're situated. They're going to go up through Reuven, if I remember rightly. I'm trying to think of my map of the Shvatim, and over towards the middle of Eretz Israel into Yehuda. Okay, B'toshim Mistei Moab, Ki Shama B'stei Moab, because they'd heard in the fields of Moab, the cities of Moab, Ki Poket Hashem Asamoel Sis Lahem Lechem, that Hashem has forgiven the Jewish people, or remembered the Jewish people, the literal translation, to give them bread. The famine is over. But Tzeitzim in Amokam Asher Hayis Shama, and they leave the place which they were. The Shtei Chadasah Imah with their two daughters-in-law with her, B'Tevchna B'derech L'Shuvah Eretz Yehuda, and off they set to go to Eretz Yehuda. So the Alshich says that originally her plan was not to go back to the place she came from, to the tribal land, if that sounds very weird, and the land of Shevet Yehuda. She was going to go elsewhere, but then, so there's one, she goes back to Jewish Israel, or the Jewish part of Israel, of the Holy Land, and then decides to go further into her historical homeland to Yehuda. Okay, there's a lot to say there, but I'm missing that bit out. Good. Pasuk Ches. Batomer Naomi l'shtei chalaseha. So Naomi says to her two daughters, Lichno shovno, go and return. Now, we're learning the Alshich, and of course, one of the brilliant things when I was just a teenager learning Alshich for the first time, there's an incredible thrill you get when you learn. The Alshich's observations are absolutely brilliant. His eye, I honestly don't know of all of them, unfortunately, anybody who sees detail in psukim and finds midrashim to answer the question of why the detail is the way it is and not the way it isn't on any other way of writing. Remember, we said that when you're looking at the Alshich and the Chumash, there's two things you have to say. First of all, who wrote the book, which of course is Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu writes it down, Hashem dictates it. Number two, of course, therefore Hashem's good at Hebrew. So, and that sounds like a joke, I don't mean it to be. That means that every single letter, every word counts. Every word counts. Every letter counts. Hashem doesn't waste ink. Now, of course, the author of Megillas Rus was Shmuel Hanavi, who was considered the equivalent of both Moshe and Aaron in combination. So this is written not just, this wasn't a diary, it wasn't a historical account. This is Nevi'us. This is not the same degree as the Torah, but again, Hashem dictating it through Ruach HaKodesh to Shmuel Hanavi. So every word counts. So the Alshich is intrigued here. It says, but again, Pasuk Ches, and Naomi says to her two daughters-in-law, Lech no shavno, go and return. I could have just said, go, or return. That would be better, in which case we don't need lech. And then Isha lebeis ima, each one to her mother's house. Why not father's house? And then Yas Hashem. That's Yaseh. But of course, when we read it, it's as though the hay is not there. Right? We say Yas. Why is the hay in our tradition missing or not effective, not completely attached to this word Yaseh? We miss it out, the hay at the end. That's an interesting question. Hashem imochem. Hashem should do with you chesed. It's all together. Go back to your mother's house. Yas Hashem imochem chesed. Hashem should do to you chesed. Just like you did with the dead, my dead sons, and with me. Yitin Hashem lochem u'mitzena menucha. Hashem should do to you, and you should find menucha. And you should find menucha means, of course, peace of mind or tranquility. But maybe we'll get to that as well. But did you notice something about the words imochem and lochem? And the answer is, I'm pausing so that people looking at this can quickly look and see if they can find it. I say the beautiful thing of learning the Alshich is to spot his questions, start to look and see things the way he sees them, and difficulties in the posset the way he sees them. And then that's satisfying, but there's nothing is more satisfying than getting his answers, which I'll hopefully get to soon. It's in the masculine, imochem and lochem, but it's a woman talking to two women. It's only talking to Orpah and Rush. You shouldn't say lochem, you should say lochem. That's the feminine form. Why is it the masculine form? Menucha isha base imo base isha. I don't know how to translate that properly because obviously it doesn't make sense. Vatishuk lahem vatushena kolan bidivkena. And they raise up their voices and they cry. She kisses them and they raise up their voices and they cry. Okay, let's see if we can try and answer some of our questions. The main ones I want to focus on, and I've missed out all the rest of the Alshich's questions, or we get nowhere, is why are these in the masculine, imochem and lochem, and why is it that she says, lechno shovna? I think that will get us into this. And now I want to read to you a little bit of the Alshich himself, word for word. And I say this is going to be into deep territory, deep Kabbalistic territory, but I think it's absolutely fabulous and well worth our efforts here tonight. So here we go. He wants to say the following thing. There are three possibilities with regards to this story that we should be aware of. One, he says, V'hi Kabbalah's Chochmah Emes. There is a Kabbalah, there is a tradition amongst the Chochmah HaEmes, that's a euphemism for Kabbalists, which says the following thing. Sorry, I lost place, yeah. B'Sefer Zohar, which is in the Sefer Zohar. Ba'omram ki zois milas nefesh hager. This is very interesting. This is the mila, how do you translate mila? The special quality of the soul of a ger. Ki nasis malbish lenefesh tzadik tomen ba'olam ha'elyon. That it becomes a garment which a complete tzaddik gets to wear in heaven. A ger becomes the garment which a tzaddik wears in heaven. Yala megan Eden Yala megan Eden shalmata v'shalmala be'itim yaduim. Okay, And they apparently they wear them in they wear this garment sometimes in heaven. This is all Kabbalistic. We don't need to go into this. At certain times, I suppose you put on your clothes for special occasions, and a tzaddik will wear their special clothes, which is the nefesh hager in Shemaim. By hekesh bazeh nefesh geras, and that applies to the soul of a geras as well. Shagam he hasem albish el nefesh tzedekas. That the nefesh of a geras becomes the clothes which a tzedekas, a saintly woman, wears in heaven as well, at special times. I think I have to tell you what that means, because if we wander away, then you'll be scratching your head if I go off at a tangent. The answer is like this. A tzaddik or a tzedekah, a real tzaddik or a tzedekah, automatically will have an effect in those around them. Think of Avram and Sarah. Avram, as Rabbi Desta says, is pure chesed, and anybody who came into contact with Avram had an aliyah in their own attribute of chesed. There are some people just like that they really, just by being near them, they elevate you. And that's the idea. A tzaddik or a tzedekah cannot be called a tzaddik and a tzedekah, is not a tzaddik and a tzedekah, unless they have that effect on other people. And it's conscious that they want to have a positive effect on other people as well. So if you're a tzaddik and a tzedekah and you're in heaven, you will have a somehow or other, whether it's Kabbalistically and subconscious, or you because of your trying to make a Kiddush Hashem in the world, you will have affected other people as well, including non-Jewish people who will want to come and join. Almost as though, therefore, the soul of a ger or geras in heaven is almost like a badge or an entry pass, which a tzaddik or a tzedekah can use to get in there, or rather stay there. It's the residence permit. That's point number one. Two, Naomi isha gedola b'tzidkas. Another thing we have to realize about Naomi is that she was not just an ordinary woman. She's not just an ordinary tzedekah. She's gedola b'tzidkas, he writes. She was outstanding. And I suppose if she's a person everybody calls Naomi, because she was so na'im, she was so pleasant in everything she did, then that would obviously attest to that. Everybody, it's like we see Hasidim saying when a Hasidic Rebbe comes along, so wow, they're so excited. Well, Naomi was like that. She was elevated and elevating. So, but Mamre is not the Gemara in the Medrash Rabbah says, Naomi, that's why she was called Naomi, because she was so perfect in everything she did. And Omro el Rus Shalotira Yikrena Ha'eda Kavod Belechta Balayla Adam Mishkov Im Boaz Shaka Baleha Bagagas Magrosov. And the proof of the pudding was that when Rus is told by Naomi to go and do something which is so against everything that she has rejected in Moab. Remember, Moab is the most corrupt, the most horrible, say Chazal, the Mazuli, the most disgusting of all the nations, debauched in every sense. Then these people who are so corrupt, and she's rejected that to become the tznuah. But when her Rebbe, when Naomi says to her, go to Boaz's bed and uncover his feet and lie at his feet, which is a very nice way of, there's no other way of saying that. She literally gets into his bed. And there's reasons why it's written that way, but never mind. But the point is, that's what a Moabite girl would do. And this is what she's rejected. So to go and do that, but her Rebbe, Naomi told her to do it. She's got no doubt whatsoever, therefore, that whatever Naomi tells me to do, it's informed by Ruach HaKodesh, and this is a great tzedekah. She does it. Whatever my Rebbe tells me to do, I'm going to do. And so she goes and does what she's supposed to do. Is that what it says? And when she goes down there, she says, don't worry, my zechus, my merits will go with you. This is not an act of immorality. You're doing something which you don't see, but I'm telling you. My zechusim, and she's got many zechusim, and she's a great tzedekah, so will go with you and protect you and make sure that this is going to come out the way it's meant to come out. That's number two. Number three is very, very exciting. Number three, it's the third point of the Alshich. If you've got an Alshich, the 2-volume Alshich, incidentally, it's page Kuf Ches. I should have told you that in case you want to see it there. It's not just that Naomi was such a special person that she achieved the status of great tzedekahs, but more than that, but she also reaches the level where she's got Ruach HaKodesh. Ruach HaKodesh, of course, as a cousin or a sister, I should say, to prophecy. V'hu Mamram Zal, that's what it says. Ki lo nelam mi Naomi. The rabbis say it was not hidden, it was not unknown to Naomi. Ki preda achas toiva hayasa asita l'tzeis mimoev. That there was a woman that in the future who was going to come. We know that there was somebody special going to come from Moab, and that person was Schus Bas Lot, in the merit of Bas Lot, the daughter of Lot, Ima, her mother, of course, Lot's daughter founds Moab, the oldest daughter, Asher L'Shem Shaman Kivna, who, when she did what she did it completely L'Shem Shaman. Shemimeno, Hosheses Malchus Beis David. That from that act of incest, or what seems to be incest, that would produce Malchus Beis David. And it was completely L'Shem Shaman. V'lo od ela she'omer Rabbeinu Zal ki gam mi'az Bas Lot v'shichot abiho es avio. But when Bas Lot got into her father's bed that night, then it was not hidden from her. Al davar gadol hazeh pikleino. The same intention, the same purpose was in her mind. And that's not just to continue humanity, because they all thought everybody else was dead. There's the only way humanity would continue. But no, she wanted to become pregnant, not just with a child, but with the child. The child. So this is what the Medrash Rabbah says. Listen to this. Rabbi Tanchuma b'shem Rabbi Shmuel Omar benichi me'avina zera. We will get, what did she say? Let us sleep with our father, and we will bring from our father zera, a seed. Menichim avinu ben lo ksiv. It doesn't say we'll bring from our father a son. Kan elazera, but zera, a seed. Oisa zera shu bo mimoka macher. A unique seed. It comes from a different place altogether. Who, and who is that? Melech HaMashiach. Her intention, the oldest daughter of Lot, doing what she did, was in order to achieve the coming of the Mashiach. Okay. In other words, they knew too that from this line, from this lineage, there is going to be, and from this act, there's going to be the coming of the Mashiach. Now let's pause. I'm going to be back to the Alshich in a second, but let's just consider sort of like a super question, something that hangs over the whole thing. I think we may have discussed this before. Why is it that all the marriages in the chain of events and the chain of marriages that produce the Mashiach are frankly appalling? If I was to say to you, forget the name of the Mashiach, forget you know the story of the lineage and the history of the Mashiach, if I would say to any one of you who are watching this Shiur, who is a son or a daughter who's at the stage and they want to get married, I say, I'll get a great boy for you. And you say, oh yeah, who is it? And I mention his name. What, who are the family? I say, well, family, oh, it's very interesting. Family, interesting family. A little bit of incest in the family. And then, of course, after that, there was one of the great grandfathers. He saw, turns out to be his daughter-in-law, but he thought she was a prostitute, so he went to her. So there's that. I should tell you that. And let's not forget about adultery. Oh yeah, and one of them arranged for the husband of the woman he committed adultery with to be murdered. And then there's, and on and on and on and on. Why is this the story of the Mashiach? You would say no, right? Would you be interested in this boy and that family? You would certainly not be interested in that boy or that family. You would be appalled. And that's really the point. Says Rabbi Dessler, the Mashiach eventually is going to be the ruler of the world. He has to be able to relate to the world, and the world has to be able to relate to him. They cannot see him, and he cannot be seen as being remote, cut off, a mysterious figure in a palace in Jerusalem. No, if somebody goes and confronts a Din Torah in front of the Mashiach, that, let's say, two business partners, one claims one owes the other money and vice versa. If the Mashiach finds in favor of one, the person who is found guilty of having stolen the money might turn around and say, what do you know, sitting here in your big palace? Do you know what it's like out there in the world? I was under pressure. I was the classic, I'm a nebuch, it's not my fault. And really, says the Mashiach, you know where I come from? Do you know my background? And still, look what became of me and look what became of my forefathers. You're not damned or condemned by things that happened in the past. That would be one answer. The Shem Mishmol says that whenever these moments in time occur, when the essential coming together of two people who are going to produce the next link in the chain of the Mashiach is being produced, at that point, the Sultan doubles his efforts to disrupt and to divert that from happening. On that basis, we have to divert the Sultan from noticing. And when he hears that there is a story of incest, he says, well, I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to disrupt that. That's my stuff. That's great. Incest, yeah, I like that one. He doesn't suspect for a moment, but that could possibly be the Mashiach. When he hears that Yehuda has gone to a prostitute, turns out to be his daughter-in-law, then he goes, yeah, great, that's fantastic. Don't have to put any effort into this, and leaves that alone. When he hears, remember, he's a malach. He just has to do his job. But his job is to find the Mashiach. He's diverted from this. When he hears about David, when he hears about Rus who goes to Boaz's bed, oh, that's a Moabite girl. That's the sort of girl that I like. Yeah, look, she's doing fantastic. That's not the Mashiach. All of this is in order to make sure that the Sultan is blindsided. Let's go back to the Alshich. The Alshich says the following thing. So he says, therefore, V'ravtan v'chuma b'shem Rabbi Shmuel Omar v'nichem avinu zera nichem avinu ben. It doesn't say let's get Lot's daughter. Didn't say let's get a son from our father, but let's get zera. What's zera? The line of the Mashiach. These are not ordinary people. They know about the Mashiach. She wants to guarantee the line of the Mashiach. Ab Kamel Shana. That's in the Medrash says. So Rus is going to do the same thing, and Rus comes from the same background. And as the Alshich says, she is going to walk in the footsteps of her mother, who is the daughter of Lot. She is the daughter of Lot. Rus is a Gilgal of Lot's oldest daughter. She's carrying on what she started then. She's guaranteeing that it comes to fruition now in this regeneration of her soul, coming back here. And this is known to Naomi. Naomi knows that there's a possibility that this daughter-in-law of hers is going to be the mother of the Mashiach. But she has to make sure. She has to test this because she is B'tisho'er. She survives in order to establish the mother of Malchus and Klal Yisrael, the mother of royalty in Klal Yisrael, David and the Messianic line. You've got to get it right. She mustn't make Orpah the candidate, but we'll come to that in a second. So let me just read a little bit more here. It wasn't just it that she had in mind that she would produce a David and a Shlomo. That the intention of Naomi in doing this is that to find the woman who is going to establish the Messianic line, which she knows is going to come from her and from her husband Elimelech, with this strange diversion through the dead sons. And she's got to find her dead son in order to make that happen. Let's jump up a little bit. There's so much to get in tonight, of course, as usual, so little time. I'm looking at the clock and saying that it's moving on. But hold here, just trust me here, because the next bit is absolutely fabulous. So therefore he says, remember we've said, why is it that it's got the Yas, Hashem Chesed, and it's missing the He? Let's see. And why it's in the masculine, when it says Imochem and Lochem. I'll read a little bit more in the Alshich here. When he says Yitan Hashem Lochem in the masculine, Omer Reb Yossi Kol Oisen HaToyvish HaNechmos HaSid HaKadosh Baruch Hu Litin LeShlomo. He's referring, Hashem should do chesed to you. That's referring to all the incredible greatness that's going to come about through Shlomo HaMelech, where, of course, Rus is going to sit there and watch her grandson on the throne. All the extra chokhmah, all that he does, building the Beis HaMikdash, that's all going to be through you. It's in the masculine form to hint at a masculine person who's going to come through your chesed which is Shlomo HaMelech. That's why it swaps to she's looking for the person who produced Shlomo and David. She knows who it is. She has Ruach HaKodesh. And she's searching in her daughters-in-law which one it is. And listen to this. The missing hey, and Hashem should do to you chesed. V'yas Hashem chesed, like you did to my dead son. It's missing that hey. Why is it missing that hey? Very intriguing. Listen. V'nobalinin, v'hu, kine, choshafti l'ishpat, says the Alshich, I won't explain. Ki dober godel dabra nomi b'divra ila. Nomi is saying incredible things here when she says this expression. He, kini goloi lonu rabbis inazal. Rabbis explain. Ki posa yas Hashem. When it says yas Hashem, and we miss out the hey, as I pointed out before, then chosa shagerim yusurim boin alehem. The gerim have suffering in their life. Now that's interesting, because we know there is, the Psukim say that Hashem's got a special soft place in his heart for gerim. You're not supposed to remind the ger of his background. There are three categories of people you really don't want to start up with or upset, and that is an almana, a yosem, an orphan, so a widow, an orphan, and the ger. So it seems to be that Hashem has got a special soft place in his heart for these people. So why do gerim suffer? So I can't remember if I told you this last week, but did I tell you that Rabbi Dessler says here, and if I did, forgive me, but it's so fabulous. In the beginning of the Haggadah, there is the minhag. There's a minhag, of course, to say the Korban Pesach after mincha, and people before we actually sit down for the Seder night, then we read the parshas of the Korban Pesach. The bits of the Torah which refer to the Korban Pesach. And in Shmois Yud Beis, if I remember correctly, yes, Shmois Yud Beis, part of the Psukim is saying what you should do. Maybe I'll read a little bit to you. Yud Beis. V'yam Hashem al Moshe v'Aaron zos chukas haPesach kol bein necha lo yachol boy. This is the Pesach lamb. If you're not Jewish, you cannot eat from it. Jumping a bit. Yogar itchol ger. But if there's a ger with you, then they can. Listen to Rabbi Dessler. Very, very interesting. Bir inyan. It can be that there is a non-Jewish husband and a wife who are outstanding and special, and they conceive a child. It doesn't note exactly how they're special, but they are basically very good people. They will conceive a child, and and the soul that comes into that child already exists in this world. And the soul that goes into that child is the soul of a child, is the soul of a child, is the soul which has already been here. It's a Jewish soul that's going into that non-Jewish body. And it starts off by quoting the Arizal, which is just exactly what the Ramban says. Nobody ever became a convert to Judaism. And nobody ever left Judaism behind. If you are a convert to Judaism, it means that you were born with a Jewish soul. But the Jewish soul was put into a non-Jewish body for this special couple who did good things, I suppose. And the reason that you are come back to the world, it's a punishment. And the punishment is that, first of all, that soul, you will have to go through a period of transition. You have to be born into a non-Jewish family, fight to leave that non-Jewish background behind, to join Klal Yisrael, and then put right what you've done wrong in the previous life. The Seich Einish al Maseh HaRoim HaKadayim. I'm reading Rabbi Dessler, the words are very important. To atone for what you've done wrong in the previous life. And Mikol Mokum, Bechasta Yizborach Matzim Achachach Es Tekunas Beis Gairu, Labal Yidach Memena Nidach. But Hashem allows you to fight your way back to Klal Yisrael in order to put right the damage you did in the previous life, so that you're not rejected altogether. So it seems to be the soul that was wrong, didn't get to heaven, did things wrong, is hovering about, and will now join a non-Jewish family and come eventually into the world. He will fight to become Jewish, or she will fight to become Jewish, and that's because a bit of a struggle, because he did something wrong. And he says, and we find gerim like that, it's very, very intriguing, who became some of the greatest of the Tanoim, Kegoin, Shmai V'Avtalion. Hillel and Shammai's teacher, Shmai V'Avtalion. He says, those were originally Jewish souls, and they must have done things wrong in a previous life. Exactly what that says, that they did something wrong in a previous life. And they were born into non-Jewish families, have to fight Roman families, and have to fight to come back. Interesting. Became Yevnei Banov, Shalom, and Lom, the Torah, Barabim. It gives other examples of the whole story. So we could add to the list there, of course, enormously. Rabbi Akiva, Unclas Ager, etc., etc. So that's what it says here, the Alshich says here, that really the idea of a ger suffering is because, that's why the hay is missing. Hashem will do chesed, but not a complete chesed, because gerim have tough times in their journey, but the tough time is meant to be tough in order to allow them to put right things that they did in a previous life. Running completely out of time, it's very upsetting. Oh, I thought we'd get much further than I wanted to. Okay. Again, going al posit yit Hashem lechem al malchus beis David, as we already said, and the masculine is to point to the fact that it's going to be through the chesed that you do, there's the potential that you could bring David and Shlomo. Now, there's a whole 2 pages here, which for some reason in my naivety when I was preparing this, which I spent hours on today, I thought I was going to get through, which I'm not, so I'll have to do this outside. So therefore, she then gives them a blessing, that each one, that she says, let's look at that again. Now look at Posuk Tes. Yitin Hashem lachem. Hashem should give to you, umatzena manucha. She's referring to conversion, and conversion at the highest level. And that is to say, Isha base Isha to her husband's house. Batishuk lahem, she kisses them. What does that mean? Well, it goes like this. Really, she wants to give them the blessing, and the blessing is like this. You could come and become Jewish. And that's why it said in the previous posuk, she said, go and shovna. Lechna, shovna. Go and come. Go back, because you've got to reject the convert. But if you want shovna, you can return with me. So one hand pushes, and the other one brings it. Come and you can become. Beis ima, to your mother's house. Because you're from Moabite, from the mother's side, you can become converts. You can become members of Klal Yisrael. Hashem should do to you chesed, means that you could reach the highest level. You could be the sort of gerim, not just that become gerim, but could become the levush, the garment that is worn by a tzaddik in heaven, and that is the husbands that you have. You will become the garment for them. They affected you to such a degree you wanted to become Jewish, and in fact married them. That's the second madriga. But there's also a potential that one of you is the mother of the Mashiach to come. Then she kisses them. Because we've run out of time, I hope you'll allow me to do another couple of minutes. Vatishik lohem. But who can noidim is Sefer Zohar, the Zohar says, ki anashika pe al pe, a kissing of, a joining of lips. 2 souls kiss on the lips, or 2 people kiss on the lips. La'advek rucha barucha is a connection of souls. The soul, of course, is blown into Adam Rishon's mouth by Hashem Yisborach. When two husband and wife kiss, it's a joining of souls, and of course they are already half of each other's soul anyway. When Naomi kisses their daughters-in-law, she kisses them on the lips, kisses them on the mouth, and in so doing, min b'minoi, she's now trying to find out which one is maybe potentially the mother of the Mashiach, which one is the mother of my, contains within her the soul of my dead husband. Because Yibum, as we said before, is the reestablishing of a soul in the world who didn't have any children. That's exactly what's happening here. When Naomi kisses Rus, she recognizes at her level, inside Rus, just as we said before, a soul, just as Rabbi Desta said, is floating about. Her son's soul, and has attached itself to the womb already of Rus, waiting to be activated into a physical union which is going to come about through Boaz. She's found her son. And now she has to complete the journey of Rus, which is her purpose in being here, who's eventually going to have a throne sitting beside Shlomo HaMelech. Bit Kabbalistic, but very, very exciting stuff. Naomi has found that Rus contains the soul of her son. Now, the only way that that soul is going to join Klal Yisrael is if we can establish the fact that a Moabite woman is a valid convert to be able to join Klal Yisrael. And that will take us in the next 2 weeks to the culmination and the climax of the fight between Ploni Ammoni and Boaz, and the establishment of under the Sanhedrin's rule from the Beis Din of Shmuel, that a Moabite woman can convert and can marry a Jew. That means that Oved, who's going to have a son called Yishai, who's going to have a son called David, will have started in motion the next stage of the journey of the Mashiach. But we'll see that again next week. I shall look forward to seeing you there. A wonderful week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and good Shabbos.